I'd like to introduce the speakers. We have His Holiness Noah Swami. He has been practicing Bhakti Yoga for over 45 years. He's an initiating guru in ISKCON. And actually we also had some initiations yesterday at the temple. And Maharaj travels internationally as well as the US classes, and he mentors, and he also goes to colleges and corporate places to preach. And we are very, very fortunate to have him here. We have His Grace Badahari Prabhu here for the first time. We hope it's not the first and the last time. We hope this is one of many times that Prabhu will visit us. He is also Srila Prabhupada's disciple. He joined the movement in 1975 and has been practicing Bhakti Yoga very sincerely. And he's also a renowned kirtanier. He goes around internationally having seminars on Vaishnava songs, and he also has, he lives in Florida, where in Gainesville he has a studio also. He's helped a lot of kirtaniers producing albums. He also has produced a lot of his own albums, and I know we don't use many CDs, but he has some CDs here today also. How many of you have been listening to him over the last 3 days and enjoyed his kirtan? Hasn't that been amazing? My standard, I feel that I did not know what real kirtan was till I heard Badahari Prabhu in person this time. So happy that he was here and actually opened our eyes and ears to spiritual hearing. And Maharaj will probably mention that as we go on in this evening. And Prabhu also has a very talented family, his wife and 2 children. 2 children are also musicians in their own right. And Mataji has also written and illustrated some books. So there's a lot we can talk about them. They're a very exalted family. I'm very, very happy that Prabhu is here. And then we have His Grace Shyamasundar Prabhu here. He's a disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami. And he's the temple president of Houston. Many of you may have been to Houston and may also have seen the beautiful temple Prabhu has built there. Very, very proud of such an accomplishment in the US. And they're growing, it's not even stopped. He's just started. They've also now got a restaurant and a school and many other things to come. So, a shining example of what ISKCON should be. So Prabhu has really done extremely well in Houston. So we are very happy to have him here. He's been practicing Bhakti Yoga for many decades and very enthusiastic and inspiring speaker. So thank you all for coming and spending this Sunday evening with us. And our title is going to be Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam is the title today, and we'll have all 3 exalted personalities speak on that topic. Devotional service. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Is there anybody here who's new and needs an introduction to what is Srimad Bhagavatam? Anybody in that category? You all know what is Srimad Bhagavatam. Very good. Very good. Come on, you got good karma on your shirt. This goes beyond good karma. How's that? Right? Srimad Bhagavatam? I know, I'm just looking, eye contact. Right. Connecting with one another right now. So, Bhagavad Gita, you know. Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada described as like undergraduate in Srimad Bhagavatam is graduate study. So the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is expanded in many, 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 many important ways in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's according to the Vedas, it's the topmost authority amongst all the Vedas. That's a long description to establish that, but it's amongst authoritative literature in the Vedas. The Vedas point to Srimad Bhagavatam as the superlative. It's the emperor amongst kings, using that simple metaphor. So in that Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a description of, just at the end, we sang the Shringa prayers. So Lord Nrsingadev came to protect Prahlad, right? Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad had a father who was not a nice person at all, Hiranyakashipu. So when Hiranyakashipu was asking his son, what's the best thing that you've learned? He was thinking of the school that Shukracharya's sons were running, teaching how to be a good asura. But Prahlad wasn't thinking they were good teachers. He was thinking Narada Muni. I learned from Narada Muni about devotional service. And there's 9 stages of devotional service, or angas, limbs of devotional service. And the first 3 are what our topic is this evening. Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, chanting, Vishnu Smaranam. Smaranam is remembrance. And it connects with what we've been doing this Holy Name workshop, because with the Holy Name, all 3 are there. Starting with hearing and chanting, and more hearing and chanting and hearing and chanting, the heart becomes cleansed. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. The heart becomes cleansed. The mirror of the mind becomes cleansed. And when that mirror of the mind is cleansed, we can start to remember who we are, really. I mean, we're identifying with who we're not, according to Bhagavad Gita. Ahankara, through the agency of false ego, we're identifying with what we're not. But to get beyond what we're not, that cleansing is required, Shravanam Kirtanam, then comes Vishnu Smaranam. We're part and parcel of Vishnu. Mame Bangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Krishna says. All living entities, that's us. We're Sanatana, eternally, a little angsa, a little part of Him. Tiny spark from the big fire. Krishna is the big fire, we're the tiny spark. We're connected to Him. And this process of hearing and chanting, done carefully for some time, it brings remembrance of who we really are. So I've been promising this, and finally we got the technology to work. I'm going to play a little video. It's just 3-4 minutes. And it's Srila Prabhupada speaking on our topic of hearing and chanting. So someone's going to check the sound quality. Well, it works on my computer. Muted. Is it muted? What's up?
mentioned we had a special weekend this weekend dedicated to chanting. Well, that's what we actually call it, this little Holy Name workshop, something like that. So, of course, this society has been known as the Hare Krishnas for many years. We became famous back in the 60s for chanting Hare Krishna, which no one had ever seen or done at that time. It was very revolutionary. The people were chanting Hare Krishna. And of course they wondered, why are they chanting Hare Krishna? Why would anybody do that, chant these names again and again and again? So things have actually come to a point where many people all over the world, thousands, perhaps millions of people, have understood the importance of chanting Hare Krishna, actually what it is, what it means, and how it's personally beneficial in a person's life. I've been fortunate myself to do some traveling over the last many years, and I get to see all kinds of people from all over the world that are taking up the same process of chanting Hare Krishna. They're as Maharaj mentioned, their hearts are becoming cleansed, their consciousness is becoming clear, and they're gradually becoming spiritually realized souls. This is our personal, practical experience. So this weekend was especially for people who have been practicing this chanting for some time to help them to go deeper and deeper into this chanting, because it's endlessly deep. The first thing that we understand when we hear about this chanting or the holy name in general is that the holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. According to Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, all the Vedic literatures, all the sages, God has a form. God's a personality. There is an impersonal feature. You could say divine light is an impersonal feature of God, but ultimately Krishna, God, is a person. And that personality is non-different from the sound of his name, from the sound vibration. So this is the science, the beginning of the science of the holy name, is to at least theoretically accept that we can come into direct contact with the divine, with the supreme, with our origin, with the origin of everything, with the origin of all happiness. Just by chanting, just by saying his name. There's a famous verse, Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitimukto Vinatam Nama Namno. So this means Nama Chintamani Krishna. So this name of Krishna is Chintamani, it's a touchstone. Touchstone can, we have this idea that it's a stone that can turn iron into gold. So the name of Krishna, the name of God, can actually transform our consciousness from material to spiritual. We're by nature spiritual. We're not this material body, we're not this troublesome mind. This is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, but we're actually spiritual beings. We're the light, we're the consciousness in this body. Even though the body's changing, we've had so many different bodies in this lifetime, but we remain the same. We remember when we were a little baby, we remember when we were a child, and now we're older. So that person who's remembering is eternal and completely spiritual. And that spiritual consciousness can be awakened simply by coming into contact with the Supreme Consciousness of Krishna. And sometimes it's said just like when the sun rises, you see the sun and you see yourself. In the darkness, you see neither the sun nor yourself. So in the same way, when the Krishna, in the form of transcendental sound, arises within the chamber of the heart, then we become aware of ourselves, we become aware of our spiritual nature. A lot of our anxiety begins to dissipate. It's nice to know that you're eternal. Actually, when you're young, maybe it's kind of nice to think you're this body. Maybe you've got a strong, beautiful body. But when your body gets around my age, it's really comforting to know that this isn't me. This sagging bag of bones and flesh, it's not me. So, and it's actually true. We can analyze and we can understand that we are in fact spiritual beings, we're eternal spiritual beings. But we're covered, so it's hard to practically perceive that. But through the chanting, through this chanting of Hare Krishna and hearing, attentively hearing, we remember, as Mara said, we remember that we're spirit soul. And that's a very joyful beginning in spiritual life. And ultimately, we remember our relationship with the Supreme Soul, or with Krishna. So it's a great journey by chanting the holy name. There are different processes of self-realization throughout the ages, and this chanting is especially recommended for the times that we live in. Because it's said that in this age people are short-lived, they're unlucky, they're prone to be misled, and they're always disturbed. Anybody not always disturbed? So this is called Kali Yuga. So processes of like sitting for hours or years in meditation and performing great sacrifices, they're hardly practical in our modern time. But we can sit together and chant. We've just seen this. It's so easy, isn't it? Deceptively easy. So someone may think, well, if it's so easy, it must not really be a viable process. But no, this is the mercy of Krishna, that he's given us a process which we can do. We can move our mouth and we can say the holy name. But even though it's on one way easy, in another way it's not so easy. It takes dedication of the self, and it takes determination. Ultimately, it takes realization. So we've especially dedicated ourselves this weekend to go deeper into this understanding of the holy name, and through the holy name to understand our relationship with Krishna. We're servants of God. Actually, we see that people like to serve. Maharaj is mentioning this, that when we have a service, when we can contribute, when we can do something to help other people, when we've got something to offer others, then we feel our life has value, isn't it? That we can be of service. People want to be of service. It's actually quite natural. And that's because that's the nature of the soul. In the material world, we also have a tendency to want to be the Lord and master of everything. The controller of the company, the CEO, the president. Although practically we see that people who gain those positions don't actually become satisfied or happy. Usually they become more in anxiety, more stressed out. And ultimately that position fades away. But nevertheless, we have this tendency. But we also have this other tendency, which is to serve, to give. And we find that we become happy when we're doing that. We find that we can become happy by giving and serving. So when this service, which is so natural for us, is channeled towards Krishna, towards helping others revive their relationship with Krishna, then this actually becomes very satisfying to the heart. So again, we're going into this, trying to understand our relationship to Krishna through serving. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi, this is one of our theme songs. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi, Nabhave Gayam Indriyai, Sevan Mukhi Jivado Swayame Visparatila. That actually we can't see God. People say, can you show me God? But one can see, but one has to have the eyes to see. It's like at night, if I say, can you show me the sun? No, you've got to wait till the sun comes up, and you can see. So Krishna can be perceived, but there's a process. So generally, through our material senses, our material eyes, our material ears, we cannot perceive or understand spirit. It's a different kind of energy. It's like you can't see sound with your eyes. You have to understand sound with your ears. So in the same way, spirit can be perceived with spirit, through spirit. So, although ordinarily spiritual things are not perceivable by us, the wonderful thing is that when we take up this process of service, by serving Krishna, by chanting His holy name, especially this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Through this process, then Krishna becomes perceivable. It's a great science how to perceive the Supreme, how to perceive the soul. And it's possible through transcendental sound. This is proclaimed in all of the Vedas and the, what is it? No, anyway, I can't remember. It's the Atato Brahma Jignasa. What's the next one? Vedanta Sutra. And there also it's said, can't think of the Sanskrit right now, but it's said that we become conditioned by sound, and by sound we can become free. So this transcendental sound and chanting Krishna's holy names is a great science, and that we've come here all together to try to understand and go more deeply and to increase our realization and increase our service. So it's been a wonderful weekend with all of you chanting. So that's a little introduction. Maybe we're ready to go at the next part. Okay, we're ready.
So this is Srila Prabhupada in New York City. As you see, Henry Street, that's the original Hare Krishna temple in New York City.
We may not understand what is meaning of Hare Krishna, but still, because it is transcendental sound, it is not. Wherever you chant Hare Krishna, they may hear or they may not hear. It is all Krishna's part. We are sending our man for streets and kirtan. It doesn't matter whether people are eager to hear it or not, but it is possible. It will create an atmosphere which is very, very convenient to the human being. Let's be honest. Not that because we are chanting, nobody is taking care. We shall not be disappointed. Our Sankirtan movement is so nice that simply by chanting, the vibration will create an auspicious atmosphere. Very honest. see those who are old and bad. So I began in this New York, that sports car, simply by chance. So I did not guide you American boys to come after. They did only yesterday one chance. The Pumpkin Sunday, Brahmananda Swami, he first day done with my child. He and Machudana, that was the first answer about the subordinate home. Yes. And I had no Vedanta. That was the, what is that? Just little class. So I was chanting Hare Krishna from 2 to 5, 3 hours. And so many boys and girls were coming and joining. And there were much photographs in the Times, New York Times, they appreciated. And people are appreciated. So this chant, legally one was chant. There is no nothing more. At that time there was no program of prasad distribution. That later on came. So we should always be confident that this chanting is not a vibration of this material world. This is not vibration. Prabhupada Thakur said, Golokena premo phana parinama shanti. It is imported from the spiritual world.
I was in the audience. And I was, at that time, the Sankirtan leader, where in New York, the, whatever you want to think of New York as, the armpit or something. The belly of the beast, the Big Apple, the place where materialism is overabundant. But the chanting of the holy name in a place that is infested with inauspiciousness was infused with auspiciousness. And I really like this. I didn't create the video. Someone took an excerpt from one of Prabhupada's lectures. People may hear, they may not hear. They may understand, they may not understand. They may like, they may not like. It creates auspiciousness. That which is congenial for human society. And thus, the term, the Hare Krishna movement, wasn't something that Prabhupada gave, it was something the media gave, because everywhere they went, they saw the Hare Krishna people chanting Hare Krishna. There's public giving the name abundantly to others. That's this Shravanam. So I'm going to touch on these three. Shravanam is hearing. The whole of the Vedic process of awakening spiritual understanding that's dormant within already is through sound. Knowledge of everything is already within us. In this Tompkins Square Park little story, I wasn't there the first time they went, but I heard from somebody who was. And after that 3 hours of chanting, from 2 to 5, a big crowd of people gathered around to see, what's this? We never saw anything like this before. And when the kirtan stopped and Prabhupada stood up, that's this famous picture with his hands folded before him, looking, standing very straight, and what's he going to say? And what Prabhupada said was very profound. His first words, I have not come to teach something new. I've come to remind you of that which you have forgotten. Now imagine if you were a world acharya, what were you going to say the first time you addressed the people of New York? Is that what you would say? I've not come to teach something new. I've come to remind you of that which you have forgotten. And that's the smaranam. From hearing and chanting, and hearing and chanting, and hearing and chanting, that which we have forgotten becomes remembered. Smaranam. It's not memorization of something, it's knowledge that's already within that becomes awakened. So everything that's over there on the bookshelf, there's Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita's and other transcendental literature. All that knowledge is already within. It's not something we don't already know, it's just forgotten. It's very different than material knowledge. Material knowledge is something that's out there. You go to school, you install it on your hard drive, somebody presses the button and says, what's the answer, and you say it back, and you get an A in your exam. This is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It's something that's there, it just becomes awakened through sound. And most effective of all the Vedic sounds, especially empowered for this age, is the name. Another one of our favorite texts. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Katiranita. Na Asti Eva. There isn't another alternative. And in Sanskrit was something that's said 3 times absolute. In Satya Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, and Treta Yuga, other processes, those are not going to be sufficiently effective in this age compared to the chanting of the holy name. Harer Nama, the name of Hari, is to be chanted. In this age of Kali in particular. And the giver of the holy name is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's on our altar, on the left side for those of you that are new, with his arms raised, calling loudly and enthusiastically and ecstatically the holy name. And the purpose of that is to give the name so we can receive the name so we can remember who we are. And remember who we're connected to, Vishnu, the source of everything. It's already there, just forgotten. So when that remembrance awakens, then the other forms of devotional service naturally follow. Vandanam, offering prayers. Padasevanam, worshipping the lotus feet. Archanam, deity worship, and so forth. The other processes mentioned by Prabhupada to his father, they're the natural byproduct, the consequence of hearing and chanting. Just a couple other things. Our people that are musical, inclined to like music, like everybody, some like this music, some like that music, depending upon the modes of nature. Some like music that, as far as I'm concerned, is that's music. Come visit us in New York sometime. You got to keep your windows rolled up, because the people in the cars next to you, they have this boom, 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 boom. The whole car is rocking. Whoa! And the people inside, they know the lyrics. They're shouting the lyrics along with the boom, 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 boom. Wow. Everybody likes music, right? But there's transcendental sound vibration that awakens the soul. Just as you heard the nice quote, sound conditions us and sound liberates us depending upon the quality of the sound. So this spiritual sound vibration awakens our dormant Krishna consciousness, our attitude, our natural aptitude to be in service to Krishna. That's remembering who we are. It's a complete package. So next time there's a function like this, please come, join, and read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and hear as much as possible to revive your dormant Krishna consciousness. I want to save something for the end, but I want to pass the microphone on to Shamsundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, I was thinking that there was no class or nothing and just continue chanting. It would be much better. It was so nice to absorb in the holy name. We are suffering in this world. We are suffering in this world because we have forgotten the main principle who is supplying us everything. We can say in Phoenix, it's cool now in winter. But still, the sun rises in the morning up to the sunset, at least 8-10 minutes a day. If there is no sunrises for 6 months on this planet, what would happen? Everything will get frozen. There will be no electricity, nothing. But we don't see those things. We pay dearly utility bills, but who is the real source? We don't show the gratefulness what He is providing. Sometime when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can see that how this age will progresses. No rain, sun will get 20 times hotter. This small bottle of water will cost maybe $1,000 at that time. All this is provided by Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we have forgotten. Our life exists on the oxygen air. Who is providing? Do we take any time to recognize that Supreme Person, that who is so kind to giving us everything with no charge? Why we are not happy in this world? Because we have one point in our life experienced that blissful life, because we are all part and parcel of Krishna, and we were with Him on His abode. There is no anxiety, right? No birth, no death, no hospital there, no doctors there, because you don't get sick. Know that. You eternally live. Wonderful atmosphere. Nice rivers flows, nice lakes, beautiful fountains. Even the air will air will carry the beautiful aroma. Very nice atmosphere. That's where we belong. We may be attracted by looking at some beautiful mountain, some lake or something, but the real thing is there. It says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Karu Nahi Shravanadi Suddha Chitte Karere Udhaya. Every one of us carry a unique love and the relations with Krishna. Every one of us has the relations with, but we have just forgotten. But as Maharaj mentions that in this age, if we can utter the holy name of Lord sincerely from our heart, we can revive our relationship and everything. It doesn't cost us anything by chanting the holy name of the Lord. So if you're really seeking for some happiness, even while we are living in this material world, this process has benefited many, many millions of people. We have seen so many wonderful, like when we are chanting today, I would like to say thank you to Ramapan Maharaj, that he is constantly giving his association for many, many years. I know Maharaj since 1986. Maharaj used to come to Houston. Very steady in devotional practice. Carried that burden that what Srila Prabhupada has given, they would like to share with all of us. It's not easy to travel at that age, but I have seen even Maharaj travel next morning, he is up. Because they have created the love of God in their heart. They have created that attractions. I don't think that they can live without it. Also, we are very fortunate to have His Grace, Brother Hari Prabhu. When we listen, we don't feel that we are in Phoenix, Arizona. We feel like we are in Goloka now. So when those personality comes to give us some impetus to take up this process, we should become little grateful for that effort. Next time when we have Japa retreat, I hope that all of you will be participants. It's really nectar. Today, we saw that atmosphere in the temple, despite that the number of the attendees was not that great, but the atmosphere was so wonderful. And I also like to thank all these wonderful devotees of Phoenix that they hang around in the temple, they give up all their kind of work and just associate with the devotees. And I hope that they have gained something through this association of chanting the holy name in association with the devotees. And they will remember. And I think what they can take back home from today, that experience. How wonderful it was. Please raise your hand, whoever was chanting, that they really felt blessed today. Please raise your hand. So wonderful. So in our life, it's running so fast, so we have no time to reflect on or think about anything. We just going straight, driving without knowing what our goal is. And we are becoming busier and busier. But our humble request that please take some time, dwell on these things. That we are not at the place where we belong. This is a very temporary place. 40 years, 50 years maximum. And again we have to take birth and work hard to get it settled. Very difficult, very difficult. Why we want to go through those things? So I just want to do a little exercise that everyone will close their eyes. And I know for sure that Krishna has helped in our life, somewhere or other. Show the gratefulness to Lord Krishna, what He has done for you. Sometimes it's our nature that we don't see below, whoever is below us, our situations, we always look up. We want to match with upper class always. We want to do the same thing. And we are just running after that goal. But take little time to see there are so many people that they are suffering much, much more than us. So just for 1 minute, close your eyes and at least thank Krishna for what He has done, whatever in your life that you know much, much better. So here is 1 minute. Hare Krishna. So now, every one of us has this some kind of a specialty ability that Krishna has given us. We are beginning 2019, so let's start the new year with some nice resolutions. At least take a couple of resolutions. It may be not big, but something that you can sustain. When we come in January 2020, and when we ask, will you be able to maintain your vow for 2019? I want to see all the hands goes up. It may be that you can say, that I'll come on Sunday, every Sunday to the temple. Or I will do some seva at the temple according to your ability. Or I will contribute something. I may bring the fruits for the deity, milk for the deities. Show some love and appreciation what He has done. If you are a devotee and also if you are not chanting, at least chant 1 round a day. It takes maximum 7.5 minutes. But the benefit that you will derive is unlimited. Our humble request that please try. My Guru Maharaj used to say that you tried for 6 months chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And if you feel that you have not benefited at all, I'll give you $1,000. Like that. Because everyone has pursued. You have realized it's so sublime. You can improve your chanting. If you are chanting, then maybe do with more intense attentions and love and feeling. If you want to increase some round, you can increase the round. If you are chanting 1 round, maybe you can take a vow that I will start from tomorrow 2 rounds. So, I'm going to give you some time, but my humble request that please follow through. get the real benefit. So I will give you 2 minutes. Everyone will close their eyes. Just meditate what you can do for Krishna in return. Like I mentioned, so many options. Even remembering me. So here is your 2 minutes. Hare Krishna. So now everyone has taken some resolutions to serve Krishna in a small way. My humble request that please share with another 2 people and request them that please watch me for the year 2019. If you see me falling short, wake me up. That's the way we can grow together, helping each other for the good cause. We wish you all success in your devotional practice, and may Sri Radha Madhavali bestow their kind mercy on all of you, so we can advance in spiritual life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I want to do one thing that requires the projector. Did you shut it off? Or just went off on its own? Oh, it's on. Okay. I want to show you one other little video, but don't start it yet. One of the services, I mentioned this on Friday evening, now again Sunday. One of the services that I have done for maybe 30 plus years is generally during Kartik month. Sometimes I've taken youth groups because they can't go at Kartik, so we won't go during the winter, to the holy places in India, South India, Dwarka, Ayodhya, and Chitrakoot. Just recently visited Puri. And many people can't attend because their children go to school or whatever. And so videos have been made of that visit. And for me, it's a service to the devotees in ISKCON as I go here and there and elsewhere to share the Bhagavad Gita's message, to share the holy name, and this is another sharing. The holy Dham, because the Dham and the Lord are not different. So there's a little promotional video showing some of the elements, like when we went to Puri, just a couple details. When we went to Puri, there are many places the Western people can't go. And many places you can't take photographs. So the Western people didn't go, but we took photographs of deities where you're not supposed to take photographs. And they're in here. They're Shakshi Gopal, and the deity of Lord Nrsimhadev that's in Puri that was installed by King Indradumna around the same time as Lord Jagannath, being carved initially from Skanda Purana. That deity is still there. They don't allow pictures. That's in their presentation. And other things. So, without all the other things. It's just an experience, visual and audio experience of the Holy Dham. The whole of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes while in Jagannath Puri with his associates, etc. And visiting those places. Personally, I spent a month of immersion, like maybe, I don't know, 200 hours, 250 hours, something like that, just in this sound vibration, which I'm wanting to share with you. So, can we play the? Puri Yatra. Yeah, Puri Yatra. Yeah, that one. Look at that. Sound? Just by placing your feet in this holy place, one has fulfilled or achieved the benefit of visiting all the holy places in all of existence. If someone even takes one breath, go ahead. In Purushottam, etc., he will attain results of an entire Ashvamedha Yajna. Keep breathing, folks. Keep taking steps. It's a very sacred place. When chanting Japa, Hare Krishna, for me, the thought of Krishna, the person Krishna was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as we were hearing the pastimes throughout the yatra, it was very meaningful.
The Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's pastime was something that touched me a lot this time. Well, I've heard the pastime many times.
Thank you very much. And also, because by your association, we get a lot of benefit.
The whole international travel and everything was so worth it just for this one day that I got to spend here. it was like incredible. So if anyone ever has like the opportunity to come even for a day, like I would so recommend it.
Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki
The feedback from people who attended, because I asked, what was the best part? There were two things. Darshan of Lord Jagannath, I went every day. I mean, that was people from India. And then the other feedback was the Chinese devotees. They're special. What can I say? There were about 35. And that drama you saw was Shakshi Gopal. They do not have Chaitanya Charitamrita in Chinese. But they made the whole drama in Chinese. Somehow they learned. And the Shakshi Gopal was very tall and thin. And she stood like this, in the same posture as Shakshi Gopal. Everyone was like paying obeisances to Shakshi Gopal. And singing, we asked them, blend Vedic culture and Chinese culture. So that was that song in Chinese with the choreography of somebody walking and the waves, and then a dramatic reading in English of what the song means. It was just amazing. So, if you're interested, I have some of these flash drives here. There's a donation, as you saw. It helps cover the cost of the production, the flash drive itself, and something to help with some service I do for ISKCON. So if you're interested, come forward. I'll be glad to give you. And if you don't have anything, we'll give you one anyways. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You need a microphone? There's the microphone.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So, we were there, my husband and I and Susan. We saw Susan in the video there. We were there, and it was an amazing yatra. And I think we did a class a few weeks ago. I did not do it justice at all. This video is what you really, if you like, what we showed you during our Sunday Peace class about our Puri Yatra. You can get this video from Maharaj, and you won't regret it. You feel that you are in Puri. There were very, very important places we visited. Very important places we visited, and got a darshan of the deities that Maharaj is talking about. We are not allowed to take pictures, but we have some really beautiful pictures there also. So, Maharaj has quite a few there. If you'd like, please, we will be able to take credit cards if you don't have cash, or checks as well. But if you don't have any credit card or checks, you can take the thumb drive from Maharaj anyways, and you can pay us later, and we can settle up with Maharaj on your behalf until you can come and settle them. So credit cards, and we also have, anyway, we have all the ways you can pay there if you wish to purchase, and I would highly recommend, because I was there at the yatra. And every time we go to Puri, things change, and not for the better. So, the original, we have been to Puri a few years ago, and so whatever we've captured here now is, will probably change a little bit when we go back. As we saw, this time I remember Gambhira a little bit different. I remember the Bakula tree where Haridas Thakur chanted, so different, but now it's all growing, and they're building so much around it. So it's taking the original beauty away. So whatever you can see in whatever state it is now and doesn't get more built around and changed would be the time to get that. So please, if you want to, we have several here for you to take. So I'd like to thank all our speakers and guests who have spent the weekend with us. We're very, very grateful to them. I know that His Grace Barahari Prabhu just came from the Kirtan 50th in Dallas, so he was a little bit hoarse, and we really appreciate you coming despite your hectic schedule before this workshop. And I know Maharaj has been super, super busy, so we are very grateful, Maharaj, for taking time to visit Phoenix, and we hope you come back soon. Also, Prabhu, Barahari Prabhu, please come back as soon as you can. He's already promised he's going to, so we've got that in writing somehow. And His Grace Shyam Sundar Prabhu, thank you so much. Prabhu just came back from India. He also was on the yatra with us, and he just came back from India, so he was able to, just in a few days, not even probably recovered from the jet lag, and he was here to give us his association. So I'm sincerely grateful to you, Prabhu, for everything you do. And he also guides us and looks after us in Phoenix, Shri Radha Madhavari Dham. Prabhu does help us oversee things. So, Prabhu, thank you so much on behalf of our congregation for helping us manage this temple. Thank you so much. And so a big round of applause for all the guest speakers. And thank you all for coming. We'll go ahead and chant Hari Bol 3 times for the devotees. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you so much. So we have 2 sponsors today for the Sunday feast. One is Debashish, Mazumdar and Priyadar. If they can come forward and receive the Mahaprasad. They have just moved to the valley, and we're very happy that they have promised that they're going to do some volunteering here, and it was just, they've been here just a few weeks, so thank you so much. They wanted to sponsor the feast, and you're going to find out that it's really lavish. It's a sumptuous feast for our first Sunday for 2019. You'll be amazed at the items they have picked for the feast. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Please give them a big hand. Thank you so much. And next is Shelka and Santosh Sachdev. Please come and receive your Mahaprasad. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's feast. Please give them a big hand. So they are celebrating their dad's birthday, which was last Sunday. So happy birthday, Dad. Thank you so much. So anybody can sponsor the Sunday feast for anniversaries, birthdays, in memory of somebody, or graduation, just simply Annadan, any reason. You're welcome to sponsor the Sunday feast. Please see one of the temple devotees. And I'd like to remind everyone that we have a huge festival coming up, our second Rath Yatra festival. So this year we're going to have it in Tempe. Last time